Every once in a while, someone will ask me a question along the lines of, what's your background in education? And sometimes I almost laugh because it's so hard to know where to begin. Today, I'm going to tell you my entire story of how I got interested in working with kids and how I got into education from about 25 years ago as a summer camp counselor to today as I run my own business on the right track. This starts 25 years ago. I was a summer camp counselor for a camp called Playground Program in my hometown. Didn't think much of it at the time. I just knew that I enjoyed it and it was a great job. Fun. It was got to be outside a lot and working with kids, usually in like the preschool kindergarten range. I went to school at Loyola Chicago and had a Spanish and communication degree. I honestly wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I got an internship at a radio station downtown, and I don't know, something just felt off. I didn't feel like it was totally me. I graduated school. I needed some money, and so I started applying to be a substitute teacher at schools around the Chicagoland area. So for a short time, about 6 months or so, I was a substitute teacher at a bunch of Catholic schools around Chicago. One of those schools hired me as a part-time Spanish teacher, yes, that is correct, for grades K through 8. So for 6 months, in the spring of, I don't know even what year that was, 1 year after college, I taught kindergarten through 8th grade Spanish class. It was then that I actually had a teacher at that school come up to me and she goes, Tim, you need to be a teacher. You've got a gift. This is natural and you need to be a teacher. So I highly recommend you go back to school and get your degree. Well, I was kind of thinking the same thing about going back to school anyway, so I decided, sure, let's do it. I went to DePaul University and studied for 2 years to get my master's and my teaching certificate in Illinois. During that time, I was a second grade teacher's assistant. So that was a really great role for me. I got to learn a lot from some of the best. Shout out to my old Sacred Heart staff. I really loved working there. I learned a lot and I was going to school at the same time, so kind of got a lot of exposure. I did my student teaching at that school in the springtime, and when I graduated, I started looking around at public schools in Chicago. I decided to accept the job at a public school in Chicago on the north side. It was an instant great fit for me. I taught Spanish once again. Yes, I think I was a last minute hire, but I would love to talk more about Spanish and what I do to teach Spanish that I think works really, really well as a non-native speaker, but that's for another video. I taught there for 4 years. While I was working there, one of the things I'm most proud about in my teaching career is that school didn't have sports. They didn't have a sports program. So a colleague of mine and I, we started the sports program and we had a ton of success there. I basically became the athletic director there and the founder of the sports program, which is now like supposedly really going strong. I worked there for 4 years. I decided that I wanted to change scenery. I moved out to Los Angeles and was applying for schools out here. I sent my resume into public schools, but I never got, in fact, they cashed my check to look into making my certificate legal in California, but I never heard anything back. So I said, well, I'm gonna start applying to independent schools. I went to a job fair and I met the admin of my former school, independent school here out in LA. And I worked at that school for 10 years. I had 2 or 3 different roles there. I started out as a 4th grade teacher, homeroom, and I taught that for 6 years before I transferred into teaching 5th and 6th grade, writing only, and became the writing director for what was known as the upper division at that school. I had a short stint as well there as co-athletic director. Once the COVID hit, I kind of was looking for something new at the time. And I decided to get my real estate license, which I still practice today, but I took a year off of teaching and was like, you know what? I really miss working with kids. Again, this is sort of this like natural calling back into this field. I accepted a job at another independent school in Pasadena teaching 3rd grade. And during that time, I really loved it, but it was sort of like all along I had been doing a lot of test prep tutoring, a lot of essay helping kids apply to high schools and colleges, and a lot of one-on-one private tutoring. During that 2-year stint as the 3rd grade teacher, I connected with another former colleague of mine who runs what's called College Access Partnership, helping high school students apply to colleges. And it was there that I thought, you know what? I really love this one-on-one work. I love what I do, working in small groups outside of a school. Nothing against any of the schools I've worked for. In fact, I thank them and think they're wonderful schools for all that I learned there. But something about starting my own thing was really like growing inside of me. And that's partly why I came interested in calling this On the Right Track. You know, I feel like I actually really know what the right track is. I've literally taught every single grade level or worked with children from pre-K all the way through acceptance into college. And so, and I've worked in literally just about everything. Let me recap real quick. Substitute teacher, assistant teacher, K through 8 teacher who was teaching in everybody else's classroom, writing director, and athletic director twice. Public school, private school, Catholic school, my own classrooms, private tutoring, test prep. I know what I'm doing. And it's just one of those things that I've always kind of had, the desire to sort of work with a lot of different grade levels. And it's given me the confidence, the experience, and just the know-how of how to run this business effectively. I'm so excited about what I'm doing. And that's my long-winded answer that I normally skip when people ask me, but that is my experience in teaching. If you still made it to the end of this video and you have any questions for me or anything, please reach out. Thank you. Bye.